You guys could lighten up now. I find everyone's acting kind of, straight and stuff. I think all the serious talk is kind of done now. Um, I think the first thing I want to start with saying is I'm very pleased that all of you guys came tonight. The vibe and the energy is exactly what we wanted. I couldn't think of a more perfect environment of family and friends to launch a brand involved in a public sense. Something that we've worked on very passionately for quite a while now. And if we had went for a larger audience, we would have had concerns as to people questioning our authenticity and, what are our intentions in the light of the amount of con men and sort of hustler-type finance people that we've seen around lately. I think when it comes to me, I think the concern is going to be is exactly how blunt and honest is Nadeem going to be tonight? For those of you who know me pretty well. I am going to give you a radical perspective. That's just the way that I tend to approach things, but that's why we brought on people like Christine and Rishi that are nice and structured and stuff like that to give you all the confidence and security that you want, I'm not going to give you a sales pitch. I'm not the next prophet of investing, and I don't have any magic investments for you, and I don't know how to make money magically overnight. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend time talking about the philosophies of investing, not my stuff, some of the greats, and that's where I'm going to come from. And to be completely honest, I'm just not bright enough to talk in 10 minutes and tell you the best investments, Mind you, anyone who thinks they are isn't that bright either, But anyways, so we are going to have a time for detail, as I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, okay, what are the actual specifics? The way that we design the service and the business model is that we want people to come into the office, or we come to your office, and we spend hours and hours, trying to understand your needs and what exactly you're looking for based on your personality and lifestyle choices. As Rishi mentioned earlier, it's one thing to be able to take risks, but certain other people don't really have that tendency. They don't want sleepless nights. And so really recommending a specific product, it's a pointless lesson really, because it so depends on what you're looking for and what are your goals, and the lifestyle that you want to live. I think about 2 days ago in the office, we were saying, what goals do we have for tonight? What do we really want to achieve? And it didn't come down to a sales target. It didn't come down to wanting this entire room to do business with us. It had nothing to do with profit, to be completely honest. We're doing okay, and in a short-term sense, cash flow is now a priority. We have one goal tonight, and over the next couple of months is one thing that I want you guys to see from us. Any client that becomes involved stays involved for life, and that's all that matters to us. That's absolutely it. What does involved mean with the tagline, investing evolved? What's this evolution that we speak about? It's an evolution that's kind of ironic because it's back to basics, it's back to common sense, It's just back to thinking and practicality and losing all of the complex nonsense, to be completely honest. So for all of you that are a little bit worried that I'm going to get into a bunch of technical jargon, which I could, but I don't think it does anything, I'm going to keep this really, really simple, and everyone's going to follow. Once or twice, just for the sake of time, because I know we've been speaking for a long time, I'm going to run through some stuff pretty quickly, but don't focus on the details. Just flow with the gist of the examples that I give, because I really want everyone to get the gist of the philosophies and not get bogged down by the nitty-gritties. So enough of an introduction. If you look at finance in the last 20, 30 years, and you think about the amount of innovation in a financial sense, I think we've done well as a species. It's been very impressive. But if you look at the problems that it's solved, well, I think that list is kind of short. So you need to ask yourself, are we actually doing anything? And is a technical solution going to solve our future problems? Or do we need to dig a little bit deeper and see that They're things at the root of the system. They're fundamental problems that we're just not fixing, and we need to start thinking about a longer-term future and sustainability. Investing really has two styles, and no matter where you fit, you're either in between or one end or another, or the other. One of those is based on rules, and the other is based on judgment. And one of those is followed by what I like to call the great philosophers of investing. Two of my favorites being Soros and Buffett. And the other is followed by academics. And the origins of academics in terms of natural sciences approach things from the scientific approach. You pose a theory and you try to prove it on a factual basis. And, then you prove it right or wrong and people accept it or they don't accept it. If I were to take this mic right now and throw it into the audience and try and prove the speed at which it flows or flies or whatever, and I'm not really good at physics, so I have no idea how to do that, but whether I got it right or wrong, it's not going to change the speed at which it moves. But when you look at something that's social, and you understand that social really has to do about us, and the choices that we make and the way we behave, and there's an uncertainty element because it's human. And social scientists sadly have approached their work just like natural scientists. Trying to approach investing from a basis of finding rules and finding facts and proving theories doesn't really make sense, because every time you prove something and you get people to accept it and people approach investing in that light, you've now changed the reality upon which they make their decisions. And I'm going to give some examples to make this clear, because that sounds a little bit over the top. One of my favorite examples is the efficient market hypothesis. This is where I get a little technical, but just follow the point, forget the details. There's a theory that academics have that markets are efficient because so-called intelligent investors throw money behind bargain gains, and therefore they throw money to the extent that the cost for finding these bargains eliminates the gains. And that's not the part that you need to focus on. The part you need to focus on is, let's assume that that was correct and markets were efficient. What would happen if we all approached investing from that standpoint, as a lot of large institutions do from time to time when they believe in market efficiency? Well, you no longer have people actively investing, and therefore you no longer have these so-called intelligent investors creating efficient markets. What I'm trying to say there is basically, if you come up with a theory and then in a practical sense people buy into the theory, it changes the game because it changes the choices that they make. Another example of this to me is diversification, which I think a lot of you guys, if you're into stocks, could probably relate to, and I hope I don't say this offensively, but people touted diversification, in a portfolio of stocks as being a key fundamental, academic model that was needed. But in 2007, 2008, markets tanked, above 50% that were fully diversified. Why? Because if you sit in a vacuum and come up with diversification, it makes sense. But if the entire market and all the institutions are doing it, then it doesn't matter where you're blue chip, yellow chip, white chip, black chip, prices are going to fall because everyone's selling off their portfolios based on emotions and nobody's looking at risk anymore. And there's another example, in the 80s in terms of stop loss orders, where people basically said, if my portfolio falls by 10%, I'm going to start selling off positions. But when everyone started doing this, what happened? The entire market had no liquidity because everyone tried to sell at the same time.